Hello. It all started a couple of weeks ago. I was going through the pictures on my phone and I saw that I had a flat earth meme screen capture. I'll add it here so you can see it. I got a little bit bored that evening and I decided I was going to do some math and analysis on it. Then I made it available and reached out to the Twitter community to see what they had to say about it. And this isn't quite so much about the response or my analysis, although I am going to cover that. But I do want to use this as an example to talk about what good I think the flat earth movement has done for the rest of the people. I think for some flat earthers, they have bought it so completely that they have gone a little bit strange. First, I just want to go over briefly what I did. So, being a little bit bored, I decided to come up with a little bit of a document that laid out the purpose behind doing this, the method that I went about confirming various things, including the math that I did. I approached it with a completely open mind, trying to analyze the image to see if it was a truly genuine image or whether or not it was altered, fabricated, or somehow manufactured in any way. The only two explanations I could think of why the Earth should appear to be so low on the horizon, if it was a genuine photo, would be the moon's surface terrain and the libration. And so I went and did all of this, and the conclusion that I came up with was based on the information I had available and the very limited amount of research that I did. I wasn't able to conclusively prove one way or the other if it was photoshopped or not. And hence, at that point, that's when I reached out to Twitterverse. I got some very positive feedback and a lot more information that I didn't know beforehand, which got me to do even a little bit more research after the fact. And it means that I've actually learned a few things along the way. And in particular, the photo that was used by the flat earther to try to prove that we never went to the moon, that it was fake. Apparently, it was done by a science magazine in the 1980s, and they took a photo that NASA really did take, and they superimposed the image of the Earth from the photo that Michael Collins took while he stayed on the Apollo rocket, who stayed in orbit around the moon. And Michael Collins is the one who was responsible for all of the images that we see of the Earthrise. After I had done this and reached out to Twitter and I had my Twitter conversations that evening, I kind of forgot about this until I went to visit family last weekend, and I was telling them about the analysis that I had done, and they were a little bit amazed at my analytical skills. And I didn't think that it was anything particularly hard. So here's what I did. As you can see, this is the original meme that I took a screenshot of, and over here they've superimposed an image of the moon with the landing site, and there's the Earth in the background. Approaching this strictly as a critical and analytical exercise, the first thing I wanted to do was to determine how high up the Earth should have appeared from the horizon if they were standing on the moon. So I found this image, and drawing lines from one edge of the moon's surface to the other on the opposite side where the line was the longest, and I just did this in GIMP. I was able to determine what the diameter line should have been. Then I did it again for another one in this direction so that I could locate the center of the image. From there, once I had identified the center of the moon, I drew a line from there through the Apollo landing site to obtain the radius. I got some of the official distances. I was able to compute the moon's angular size and the Earth's angular size, and I did it this way. It was very simple. If the Earth's radius is 6371 kilometers and the average distance between the Earth and the moon is 384,400 kilometers, then the tangent of half of the moon's angular size would be its radius over the distance to it. And likewise, half of the Earth's angular size would be the Earth's radius divided by its distance. I reworked the equation so that the Earth's angle would be the arctangent of the Earth's radius over its distance multiplied by 2. I could have used the Earth's diameter and not multiply by 2, but it would have given the same thing. And that's what these numbers are. Next thing I wanted to do was determine the expected Earth's altitude. I could have looked it up. I could have went online and found what the latitude and longitude on the moon were for the moon landing, but I wanted to go strictly with what was in the image. So based on that, from the center to the outer edge is 396 pixels, which is this number here, and the distance from the center to the Apollo landing site was 207 pixels. I used the a cosine function, the arc cosine, using this as the hypotenuse and this as the adjacent distance to calculate the number of degrees. That told me that the angle Earth should have appeared on the moon at an altitude of 58.48 degrees. The next thing I did was try to do a Google search for the Earth view from the moon, and I got a whole bunch of images. This really confused me at the time. It really didn't click that there was the possibility that these might have been taken by Michael Collins, who remained in orbit. In my mind, all of the images of the Earth would have been taken on the surface of the moon, and as you can see, I circled this one in particular. This one represented the best case scenario, or possibly the worst case scenario. This one appeared to be the closest where it should have been on the moon. So I zoomed in and I counted the number of pixels that the Earth appeared in its diameter. Luckily, it appeared to be more than half of the Earth, so I had a good diameter reading and I got 10 pixels in diameter. The next thing I did was I determined how many pixels from the top of the Earth to the surface of the moon, and I got 86 pixels. From there, I wanted to calculate the amount of sky, or the amount of space in this case, between the surface of the moon and the bottom of the Earth. So I subtracted the Earth's diameter from this number and I got 76 pixels. From there, I divided this number by the Earth diameter in pixels to get an estimated 7.6 Earth diameters in the space between where the Earth should be and the surface of the Earth. Knowing that the Earth should have an angular size of about 1.89 degrees, I multiplied that number by that number and I got an altitude of 14.4 degrees. So my analysis told me that the Earth should have appeared with an altitude of 14.4 degrees, keeping in mind that I would have expected 58.4 degrees. The difference in the angle was 44.05 degrees, and I decided to work out best and worst case scenario libration, with the maximum libration helping it and the maximum libration working against it. And I might have got this incorrect as well. I might need to use half of this value. So I had done all of this, reached out to Twitter, got all of this information, and then on subsequent investigation, I found this image on NASA's website, and that's when everything made sense and explained everything that I was seeing. So Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin did go to the surface of the moon, whereas Michael Collins stayed behind on the command module, and while he was orbiting the moon, he took various pictures of the Earthrise. And this photo was taken at 85 degrees east and 3 degrees north. So I decided I was going to see how close to this value I got by doing my own calculation, again only analyzing the image that I've seen here. So again, this image is saved in this directory, and I did the same kind of calculation, and I got 0.15106 degrees from the surface of the moon. And then from there, it's the same kind of calculation, and I got 81.31 degrees. NASA said that it was taken at 85, so I just divided the one by the other and subtracted that from 1 to get an error of 4.3%. So this brings me to why I'm making this video now, because when I was explaining some of these things to my family this past weekend, they were a little bit amazed at how I was able to do that. And to me, this really wasn't a big deal. This is just thinking through the problem, looking at the information that's available, trying to gain more information from what you already know, and essentially to do your own analysis that way. And ultimately what it comes down to is the fact that I saw a flat earth meme. I wanted to analyze it to see what information I could pull out of it. Reached out to other people on the internet, got a lot more information, learned a few new things along the way, and I also discovered that I am not unique in this particular experience. There are quite a few number of other people out there who, in the process of trying to debunk the flat earth movement, did their own research, did their own experiments, learned a lot of new things that they wouldn't have done otherwise. I would not have bothered doing this had I not decided to analyze and to disprove something that flat earthers have claimed. Part of my ambivalence in all of this is that I'm just one of many. Somebody else a number of years ago analyzed this to death. What I really find amazing is that over the last few years, I learned and probably relearned quite a few things that I had taken in high school, simply because of what flat earthers have done to kindle some kind of interest. And so that's why I think the flat earth movement is actually a good thing. So that's it for the moment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in another video. Bye for now.